Hey guys, and welcome to my Walking Dead weekly chat for this last episode. So, I am just going to dive right into it because I feel like we have a lot to talk about. Before I start this particular video, I just wanted to say 2 disclaimers for those of you that go into the comment section and all that stuff. Just be careful. I believe I saw on Twitter that spoilers leaked for the next episode, so if you don't, people might respond with something like that. Also, just wanted to say I will be slightly referencing things from the comics. I try to take that almost completely out of my weekly chats because I know there's quite a lot of people who watch The Walking Dead who have not read the comics, so I just wanted to let you guys know that something, briefly, but yeah. All right, so the first thing that I'm actually going to talk about, because, always on my mind right away, I loved that there were kind of little homages to Glenn in this. Let me show you my mug. Look at my mug. Look at my mug. Oh my god. Anyway, I'm a dork. Anyway, so I loved that there were, if you didn't already know, Rick used Glenn's lighter to light Lucille. I liked that he kind of took a moment and went to the grave and stuff like that. I liked what Daryl said, and I don't know if it's entirely true, but I liked what Daryl said in the sense of, like, I think about the people who are gone, and I think about the people who are still here, and it ain't right. That's how he put it. And I think that there's some kind of truth to that in a sense. I mean, I think there's we've lost a lot of kind of innocence in this show, and I think, in that sense, maybe it's not fair, but I thought that that was really kind of a sweet thing to say. Rick saying he should have just worried about their people. I feel like, it's funny we're watching Rick go on this kind of crazy mission, especially as soon as he sees Negan alone, which I feel like he absolutely should have if he has a chance to take it. But I think he's still absolutely not processing completely everything that happened with Carl. And so he is just going right into, and he's not really taking in what Carl said. And I feel like the back half of this season might be Rick coming to terms with what Carl said. He's like in a couple episodes ago when him and Michonne were driving, he really seemed to be like, what do you think he meant? I don't know, am I supposed to stop fighting? Which is interesting because I think Michonne has a decent grasp of what Carl was trying to say. So I think he's not okay. I think he knows it. He kind of said, I'm okay, and then he said, I'm going to be okay, but I think it's going to take a little bit for him to, it's more so, I think, instead of like a mourning phase that a lot of people go through in the show, I think he's having a processing phase. And the moment between Rick and Daryl was really sweet and emotional, and, I was kind of hoping for a bro hug, but, I'll take what I can get. The other person that they kind of focus on a bit in this episode coping with Carl's death was Enid. And you can tell that she's also trying to, I wouldn't say more so process it, but the whole it's not fair aspect of it coming into play again. The idea, I liked the fact that they kind of put her into the situation with this new community that is like, or these 3 women, we don't really know much about them, that, she's confronting them and they say that they have you know, knowledge. They don't seem to be coming at them with any sort of big show of force just yet. And the fact that Enid just goes straight to like, we just need to take what they have, you know, it's survival of the fittest. If you help people, you die. I mean, that's really what she's trying to get through in her brain, is that, you know, Carl was helping somebody and he died, and she said later, you know, and I killed somebody and I lived. Like, how does that work? So life ain't fair. That's probably how that works. I did like the talk between Maggie and Michonne, kind of after Enid sort of left in tears. Poor girl. Because it really kind of, I think, focused on sort of honoring the dead. And I think sometimes in times of war, in times of stuff that's going on now with Negan and everything like that, people have kind of a hard time staying true to who they want to be, or staying true to, you know, like, you can think of like, what would Carl have said? What would Carl have done? What would Glenn have done? You know, I think that that's sort of really important to reflect on, but sometimes you really don't have time to do that. I like that they put a little bit of them talking about like Carl and what he would have wanted. I liked Enid and Michonne's talk. Like I said earlier, I believe Michonne has a decent grasp of what Carl was trying to say. You know, there needs to be an after. It's not like, it's not good to just sort of go around and kill people and not care, which is, I think, the danger of Rick's like going nuts and trying. I'm all for Rick trying to kill Negan though. I mean, like, go for it. But I think that there's a lot of loss going on within the group. I mean, we see everything that's going on with Rick right now, but I mean, not even that, you know, I would assume, you know, Maggie is still somewhat coping. You know, we lost Abraham, you know, Tara is for sure having some issues processing Denise's death, and it's so hard when you're attached to people and you lose people, what, you know, to kind of keep your emotions in check. And I do like that they focused a little bit on that through Enid's eyes in this. Just a random note I made, this was earlier on in the episode, the conversation between Negan and Dwight. As the episode went on, I kind of said, I don't really think there's anything to this, but I was really concerned that Negan like already knew about Dwight. I am so focused and concerned about the whereabouts of Laura. Now, I feel like now things have really gone off the rails. By the end of this episode that I'm talking about, things have just gone, you know, left. So maybe not, maybe it won't come up. But if Dwight, for whatever reason, heads back, I have no idea. There could be some issues with that if the saviors come across Laura and she like, I don't know. I don't know. But I'm always just aware that she could be showing him. Let me tell you guys something funny. In the shot, if you go back to the episode, in the shot where, in the beginning of the episode where everybody's getting, you know, Dwight got into the car with Simon, and they do a shot of Negan standing there, and then, but it's just his legs. I legit thought it was Laura. I was like, oh, is it Laura? But it was just Negan has really skinny legs. I don't know. Oh, too funny. Anyway, all right, now I'm going to go into kind of the bigger parts of this episode now. First thing is Simon. Simon is making moves, people. He is done with me. I do not know. The thing is like I talked about in a previous weekly chat, I kind of understand what Simon is saying. Devil's advocate sort of situation. where, you know, he did say, you know, we keep throwing, you know, he said, we've thrown a lot at Rick, the widow, and the king, and they keep coming. Obviously, the system of, you know, kill one and, you know, just hope everything falls in line is not entirely working, right? I think that that's a fair statement to make. However, it's, and when it comes to maybe the garbage people are a completely different scenario, you know, the scavengers, I think that they're kind of different. But when it comes to Rick's group, I think we all have followed Rick's group for a pretty long time to know that they're not just going to give up just because they kill one person. It's just, especially with all they've lost, you know, they've already lost Glenn, they've already lost Abraham, they've already lost Carl. It would be kind of, I don't know what they, it would just make them fuel their fire more, in my opinion. So there's a little bit of a point here. Now, I do not think, this is going to be some shit. Now, this is all going to be very dependent on what the fuck Jadis is going to do with Negan at the end of all of this, but I cannot necessarily say that I think this is all a great idea. Him kind of leading an army, and it's going to be a shit show. I am excited, but I am also very, very nervous about everything. You know, him making sure that people don't search for Negan and then just leave it. I mean, if you don't, does he not watch the show? If you don't see a body, the person is probably not dead. That's just, you know, he should do some research. So, question for you guys, what do you think is going to happen now that Negan knows about Simon and what he did with the scavengers? I mean, if Rick didn't tell him, obviously Jadis would have probably clued him in at some point. It's going to be interesting. I do think Negan is in a bit of a predicament right now. And also, I'm just going to ask you guys, what do you think Jadis is going to do? Is she going to bring him to the hilltop? Is she going to do something else? Is there something more about the scavengers I talked about in another weekly chat that we don't really know about? Could it be more? Is she going to bring him somewhere else? I don't know. I mean, I do think that Simon leading a charge in the name of Negan is probably going to bite him in the ass in the end, but I do believe that he will also probably cause a lot of damage first. So I'm a little nervous about that. The next episode does not look fun. For pretty much anybody. Okay, so I'm going to go into Rick and Negan. When it all started and when we see Rick kind of mowing down Negan, I kind of had a feeling that neither would take out the other. I really, really didn't think Negan would take out Rick. I mean, when it comes to two of them, one over here, and they're fighting, I find it hard to believe that Negan would beat Rick. I've talked about this so many times before, but I just... Not that it would be a complete, like, you know, Rick would completely murder Negan in a fight or anything like that, but I think, you know, Rick has had to fight time and time again, over and over again, and I feel like it's probably been a little bit since Negan's got his hands dirty, you know what I mean? So when I thought about, I mean, it was kind of funny watching Negan being like, Lucille, where are you, Lucille? But, and a lot of people kind of commented that, you know, it's sentimental value for the bat. I agree. I definitely think that there is sentimental value. However, I think another reason is like all of his power is in Lucille. When you think of Negan, you think of Lucille. You do not think of him not carrying Lucille around. Any sort of freaking cosplay of Negan, you have a Lucille. You know what I mean? Like, so the power is, a lot of the power is in Lucille. If he loses Lucille, I think people view him as not as powerful, not as in control, not as I've got this shit handled. You lose Lucille, Lucille gets fucked or whatever, because he puts such a high emphasis on Lucille. I think it would be very noticeable if he went back to his people and didn't have Lucille anymore. So I think that, you know, that was kind of a little bit of it. I believe he also has a very strong attachment to the bat as well, but I think that that was also a little part of it. I did find it funny that Negan was still offering a deal, and I liked this kind of I loved the performances between these two actors in these scenes. I thought that they were wonderful. But I thought it was interesting to kind of see the back and forth and them both kind of saying their sides. You know, we're having a couple of talks within this season between Rick and Negan where, like I said, with the talk on the walkie-talkie, not one has a ton of power over the other. And I really liked when they kind of just talk, but I found it kind of funny that he's offering a deal when this is the closest that Rick's gotten to like really taking him out, and he's still like, I'll offer you a deal. Like, it was kind of funny to me. I thought it was kind of interesting, and they brought this up a couple times this season so far, where Rick kind of said, no one's coming for you. This is when you realize who your true friends are. Rick goes missing for a little while. At some point, they're sending somebody to go see where he is. With Negan, apparently Simon and Dwight were like, let's pretend he's dead. And Enid brought that up when she was with the women of Oceanside and stuff, and she kind of said, you know, like, if we go missing eventually, somebody's going to come for us. I like that they keep bringing that up. There is a certain amount of severe loyalty on the Alexandrian Hilltop and Kingdom side, that there is a little bit of strength in that. I like that. I loved Rick setting Lucille on fire. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. It was wonderful. I do wish that he did more damage with Lucille, but, you know, I'll take it. You know what I mean? You can tell that Rick was clearly led by rage. And I mean that in the sense of like mourning Carl more so than just wanting Negan dead. He's always wanted Negan dead. But you can tell, I liked when Negan was like, you're insane, you're gonna get us both killed. And Rick was like, as long as it's you first. You can tell, I mean, he just lost his son. He doesn't give a fuck if he dies. He really does not care. And I think it's also this whole thing that, like, if I kill you, my people are better off, you know, like it's also kind of that thought process going into it. Do I care if I die in the process? No. And I've always said that that's kind of one of the most dangerous dynamics of a person, is when there is somebody who wants you dead so much that they don't care if they die in the process. That's like a terrifying situation, you know what I mean? Anyway, that's just my whole thing with that. Moving forward, I did already ask this, but, you know, like, what do you think Jadis's priorities are now that she has Negan and all of that stuff? Let me know what you guys think about that. And now I'm going to go into kind of the aspect of the episode that I feel like will have a bit more speculation and stuff, so I saved it for the end, and that is Georgie meeting her. Some people are saying that she is a version of Pamela Milton from the comics, who is the leader of the Commonwealth. Can't say a ton more about that. It could just be that they kind of look similar. So, or they're introducing something a lot earlier. We'll see. Meeting anyone new, sorry, I'm just reading my notes a little bit. So meeting anyone new will make, I think, a viewer of the show suspicious. We don't really have a great track record with new people. I think every so often it works out. It's true. But in general, err on the side of caution, because, you know, you will find more than likely people that are just not good. All right, so I'm going to ask you guys, because I'm going to talk a little bit about how I feel, but what do you guys think Georgie's motivation is? Do you think she has good intentions or not? I'm erring on the side of caution because of the thing. It seems like she very well could be somebody who wants to make the world a better place, build up the world again. She's tired of living in a zombie apocalypse sort of a situation. She has the means. She wants to share it with good community. Like, put yourself into her shoes. If you were that person, you would want to share it with good communities, communities that can also take care of themselves, that will flourish, and in this world. So what she was saying was kind of making sense, right? In that realm. I will say, saying that she's going to be back, and you know it was a barter and stuff like that. Just the way she said it kind of made me a little nervous. That could be just them putting that in there to make me nervous. And you know, I think that it's interesting, but we do not have a lot of information. And I think they did a poll in The Talking Dead where they said, do you trust Georgie, or do you think she's good? Or it was something like that. And a lot of people were like, yep, we trust her. So maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm just always skeptical, which is, I guess that kind of makes sense. But I want to know what you guys think, and if you guys think that she's, you know, going to be, I mean, she could kind of just be a politician, and she's fine with all of these communities flourishing, but with her in charge, like she, you know, I don't know. I think that's something to look out for. And I don't know when we're going to see her again, if we're going to see her again anytime soon, or if it's going to be later. But I'm actually kind of interested, and I'm really excited to sort of see where this is going to go. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this weekly chat. I have, oh Lord, so many questions and excitements for the next episode. It looks like it's going to be a shit show, and I'm nervous and excited for it all in one. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this weekly chat. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.